I think it was like a warning shot. Like, hey guys, I'm coming soon, so get your stuff ready.
Because we weren't ready. I do something different than when it comes to parenting. It triggers them. Like, people don't get as curious. They get like, no, because, my way is the right way.
You're never going to be able to justify having kids.
Am I happier with kids? It has cracked open a part of my heart that I didn't know possible. And I was terrified about having kids before I had them.
Welcome back to the Roamaroo podcast, where your someday starts here. And our crazy someday of the second baby is going to happen any moment. That's right. Our second baby's coming very soon, and we're going to be talking about everything baby number 2.
Yeah, hopefully he's not coming during this podcast. That would be wild.
But we thought he was coming like a few nights ago.
We did. Yeah. Like 5 nights ago,
Yeah.
I started having contractions. They ended up stopping. So I don't know if they were Braxton Hicks or if it was false labor.
I think it was like a warning shot, like just across the bow. Like, hey guys, I'm coming soon, so get your stuff ready.
Because we weren't ready. I mean, physically, I had my bag mostly packed, but mentally, the baggage was scattered. Like, I just thought because I was 10 days late with my first, I'm going to be so late with him, I don't have to prep yet. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I'm having contractions. Is this it? And I am mentally like not in the headspace to give birth, but
I wasn't either. I mean, it's like, he's coming.
Yeah.
But when it's like, oh, he might come like tonight, you're like, oh my God, I'm not ready. And you're never going to be ready.
Right.
Like, I mean, just know this, that no matter what, first baby, second baby, you're never going to be prepped because there's always going to be one more thing that you want to do before he shows up or they show up. So
I would love to hone in on that idea because I've talked about that with friends who are apprehensive about having kids or nervous. Just the idea of like being ready for kids. I would love to dig into that.
Well, I'll summarize it in maybe like one sentence. You're never going to be ready. There's no right time to have a kid. I mean, having a kid is just an emotional decision. You either want to have it or you don't, and there's no positives and negatives that you could create to have a child. There's even studies that show like people who don't have kids. This is really going to like kind of turn the tide a little bit. Studies have shown that people who don't have kids actually are happier than people who do have kids. How crazy is that?
Interesting. And why is that?
I forget. I'd have to look up the study, but basically it had to do with like freedom of being able to do what you want, more financial stability, less stresses, not waking up in the night. But I don't know. I mean, how do you feel when you hear that? Like, I don't
think
agree.
Everybody's experience is different. And I feel like being a parent or not being a parent, there's so much identity attached to it. So when you do, what I've realized is when I do something different than other people, when it comes to parenting, it triggers them oftentimes. Like, people don't get as curious. They get like, no, because, my way is the right way because it's tied to my identity. And what I've realized with parenting is there's so many different ways to do it. Let's not judge other people. Like, unless you're putting a child in harm's way, it's okay to do things differently. Right? So I think whoever did that study, maybe they're not a parent. I don't know. It might be different results or who they were interviewing. Were they interviewing people with childhood trauma? Were they interviewing people? There's so many different factors. I don't know. I mean, am I happier with kids? It has cracked open a part of my heart that I didn't know possible. And I was terrified about having kids before I had them.
Let's go back to your original question of like people who think they're ready. I mean, do you feel like you were ready for baby 2, or was this like, I don't know, sure, just throw the dice again?
I don't think I was ever 100% ready to have baby number 1 or baby number 2. There were always concerns in my mind. What if this happens or what if that happens? And I'm such a planner and love to control things.
What?
So yeah, it was nerve-wracking. It is always nerve-wracking when you're about to shift dynamics, and kids shift dynamics. There's nothing greater than that. So I was scared, but I'm also like, this is what we want. We want 2 kids. So we got to start rolling the dice, right? We got to start trying, which is the fun part.
It is the fun part. So it comes back to, I know it's tough. There's some people who are like, I'm meant to be a mom. I'm meant to be a dad. and they just go for it. But in today's world, you're seeing a lot of high achieving, and it usually falls on the woman, that the pressure of it, who are like, I'm doing this. I need to do, 2 more things before I have kids, or I'll do it next summer. And you hear that story over and over and over again. And it's like, it just is. There's nothing, you can't change it. It's like, but it does fall on the woman so much more. And you just have to grab them and go, it's going to be okay. Like, you're going to get through it. All those things that you think are important, the stuff, that checklist that you wanted to get done, you may get it done, you may not, but it's not going to be that important later on. If it's like, hey, I need to go travel to Europe, I need to go here. Well, I mean, you can still travel with kids. Like, you can still do that. It's just going to be a different way. So we're not we're not the people who are like, hey, you need to have kids. But if you're on the fence and you're trying to figure out how can I justify having kids, you're never going to be able to justify having kids.
I'll say that life doesn't end when parenthood begins. I'll say that I was terrified that life would end when parenthood began. I was so scared that we wouldn't be able to travel. I was so scared that we wouldn't be able to continue these amazing adventures that we would go on. And why? Because a lot of people are naysayers, and a lot of people say, oh, enjoy it now because you're not going to be able to travel when you have kids. Well, guess what? You will be able to travel. It will look different. It might take longer. You might go slower. You might not go as far. But if you want to, if that's something that brings you satisfaction and is part of your passion, it will actually grow and make you feel like yourself more so in that postpartum period, speaking from experience. And there's such a joy in introducing your passions to your kids. Maybe it's not travel. I mean, if you're listening to this, it's probably travel. But whatever that passion might be, if you bring it from your past life, your past identity into your present, there's such growth. And women are allowed to evolve. Humans are allowed to evolve. We should evolve. And that comes through struggle. Mm-hmm. And I know that having kids was an identity shift and struggle for me, but I see it as just like I am more myself. I have a greater depth. I have a greater, all of these this emotional rainbow of like, it brought such gifts to me and to my travels.
What are you doing or going to do different? Like, let's start with the beginning. What did you do different during this pregnancy, if anything?
What did I do different? I feel like I didn't have as much time to rest, although now I'm leaning into that. I wasn't as strict in this pregnancy of like, I must do this, must do that. Like, I wasn't as controlling. I think with having a toddler at home, I had to be a bit more flexible and learn that. So kids, as much as they learn from you, you really learn a lot from them if you allow yourself to. And so having a toddler at home makes you have to be a bit more flexible. What about you? Do you think you did anything differently during this? I mean, you're not pregnant, but.
Oh, yeah, I did. I think so. I think mentally, I think when you have the first kid, it's likely that the dad, how can I say this, doesn't see it as like, doesn't understand the stresses and pressures it puts on a mom. So I think it's easy to kind of think of you guys as like the couple you were before, and it's not the same. Like, it's interesting how you become a parent like sooner than you have the child, because there's responsibilities you have right away. You have to go to the doctor's office. Like, you all of a sudden are more tired, and like you have to pick up and help each other. And so there are things that change that you, on your first child, you may not be prepared for it. You may not realize it, that, there'll become a day where, you were just like, I can't get off the couch, or, and maybe that day we had agreed, like, you were going to be making dinner that night. I don't know. And it's just little things that if you're not set up for it and you don't expect it, some people can start to resent one another. And it's like, you have to realize like, hey, we're in this together. This was a mutual decision. Things are going to change right away. Not when the baby comes, before the baby comes. So I think with this one, I knew it. And also we have the toddler, and it's just like, I was a little bit more prepared to be there for you sooner, I think. So it wasn't like a surprise of like, why is she not, it's like I knew you're pregnant the first time, and I don't remember all the details, but I think there's that. What else did I do differently?
Thank you, by the way. I mean, I think a lot of times, and you've said it before, like you don't often know how to help when your wife is pregnant, because there's a lot of, I would imagine, feeling out of control on your side. Like it's not your body, you're not going through it physically. But being there for me in terms of taking care of our daughter, in terms of, in my first trimester, I think you made food like almost every night.
I did, yeah.
Like I was ill from morning sickness and all day sickness and all night sickness. So like you really stepped up to the plate. So I think that's a huge thing that men can do. And I know that not everybody has that dynamic in the relationship. Like, the man might be going to an office or whatever it is, but you got to figure out what works for your family and be there for your woman. And I appreciate it that you are, and it's hard to give up that control also for myself. Like I want to be there for my family. I want to be an equal player in my family and take care of my daughter and take care of the house and be your wife and all of these things. And to not be able to, it's really hard. It's hard not to get down on yourself a bit, because I'm like, I can't do the things I used to be able to do, but I am such a capable human, and I'm like such a cheerleader for women being capable. And that's been tough. But I've also realized in the second pregnancy, it's a season. This is not forever. Versus like the first pregnancy, I was like, oh my gosh, is this forever? Is this permanent?
I know one thing I actually changed. So my mindset of, and I'm going to use extremes. I wasn't like this harsh in my mind, but just for the example, like in my mind for the first pregnancy, you would be having hard days, be it, with concerns about the weight gain or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I would just be like, sweetie, it's temporary. It's no big deal. Like I was a bit flippant of the hard things you were going through at times. Whereas this time I know how hard it is. And we've joked about like what it would be for men.
Can we talk about that, please?
All right. So basically we had this, so the tough part about women getting pregnant is how society puts so much emphasis on women's appearance. And basically what you're doing is you're taking that away from them. And I know we all say beauty is only, skin deep or whatever. Maybe I messed that up. But we all know that it's very hard on women who, no matter what, you're losing a part of your body and you have this beauty and it's changing. And it is beautiful to see a woman pregnant. It's beautiful to see Collette pregnant. But I can also understand how she sees herself differently right now. And we were trying to figure out like, what would be the same thing for guys to go through, to like have this embarrassing thing that they have to do.
Not embarrassing, but like challenging. Like a mental mind F.
Because it couldn't be like, give them a beer gut, because they'd be like, whatever, I don't really care.
I feel like guys don't care as much about that. So what did you decide?
I think it's two things. I think it's one, basically you have to like slowly cut away their finances, but they have to publicize those finances like every month. their total wealth.
To their intimate circle.
Yeah, to their intimate circle. They have to post it on their Instagram like once a month, be like, oh, I just lost 10% of my salary. Like basically it just has to go down. Or they have to lose a quarter inch of their, and they have to walk around with no pants.
That was the one that got me.
They have to a quarter inch of their manhood, and every month it just has to get smaller and smaller. But society would be going up to them, say, don't worry, it's going to come back. And then the guy would be like, but it's looking so small. And then by 9 months, it'd be teeny tiny, but everyone would be like, oh, it's so beautiful. It's such a blessing.
And then right after you give birth, it's like, where's that hog?
Where's that?
Gotta get it back. We digress.
So that was the story we had about how maybe men could relate to what women are going through during this whole journey. Which leads me into my next thing. Speaking of what
family-friendly podcast.
This is a little, yeah. Speaking of what men go, I want to talk about like something that I was not prepared for the first pregnancy, but I was a little bit for the second one, is the hormonal changes that go through me. That's something that a lot of guys probably don't expect. So there are studies about this. There's a lot of things that change in the hormones of guys. Like, and it kind of ramps up, and I'm feeling it like now. And I told you this the other day, and some of the other ones I didn't think about, but now I see it. It makes sense. So one, testosterone drops as during pregnancy, and it drops more like right before the baby's born. Cortisol levels increase, which both of us feel that right now.
Yeah.
Both of us are just stressed out, just little things like we just agitated. We just can't handle stuff. Prolactin increases, and that's like with bonding and caregiving, and also oxytocin. That is going up as well, which I thought about this. I have been cuddling like crazy with Lucy, our little dog. And I always cuddle with her. I always pet her. But like recently I've been like in her face, just like, give me a kiss. And that makes sense now. That totally makes sense.
Aggression.
Yes. Yes. So I can totally feel all those different things. And I can remember actually after we had Scotland, oh my God, like I know you obviously had a bunch of hormones, but I was shocked how much my change was. Yeah. Like obviously I have the adrenaline, and that is like for, I'd say about like 3 days where you're just like, you can just not sleep, go through anything. Mm-hmm. But I also remember just like, it feels like a drug. It's probably the oxytocin, all of that, like that bonding hormone that they've studied, and they show it does happen in the guy as well. It's crazy, that bonding that happens.
Evolution, man.
Yeah. And I can remember it was I would say about a week where I would just be holding her, and it's just like, you're like glowing.
Yeah.
You know, it's that crazy feeling you have. And what is it like? Basically, there's a part of your brain that changes through all of this.
Well, I know the female amygdala.
Yeah, I think, and the man does too. Not as much, but the amygdala changed for the man as well. Yeah.
Which is your reptilian brain.
Yeah.
That's that mom instinct.
Yeah.
Like why you can catch a baby and like if they're about to fall or whatever it is.
If you're expecting your first child, if you're expecting your second child, you won't have time for this. But if it's your first child, watch the documentary Babies on
that
Netflix.
was so cute.
We watched it on our first Scotland. We watched it like so many nights, every night while we were
with all that
free time we had, and learned so much. And now there's not even a chance. Like we just want to escape.
Yeah, and toddler bedtimes take a while.
So what are you going to do differently for this birth?
For the birth?
Yeah, we talked about like this pregnancy.
Oh, well, I still have I would call them like my birth goals.
Have baby, check.
Have baby, survive, get an epidural. Last time I was really trying to be a hero. I had a 36-hour labor. The first 24 hours were unmedicated. And when I got to the hospital, I was like, cut it out of me. My doctor was like, there's a step in between we can do.
Yeah, that was definitely a moment of like, as a couple, where I was like, this is your most vulnerable, lowest spot I've ever seen you. And you were like quivering in like pain and hormones, and you were exhausted. Yes. And they checked you, and you were like, I'm probably like 7 centimeters. And they're like, you're 2. And you were like, 2?
And I've been laboring for a day, like a full 24 hours. Oh my gosh.
I love it. You go, Doc, can we just cut it out? And he's like, let's take a step. And I was like, held your hand. I'm like, sweetie, there's a few more things we can do before we do that.
Yes.
So
going into it, I'm feeling more confident in the sense of I know my body can do this. I'm confident in my care team, and I'm confident in the hospital that's going to be taking care of me. And of course, I'm confident that you're going to advocate for me and be there for me every step of the way. If I'm being 100% honest, the first time around, wasn't expecting to share this, but I was really scared of dying.
I could see that.
And
it's not a 0% chance.
Yeah. And it was like a deep-rooted fear that I felt embarrassed to share. And it kept coming up for me. So I talked to a therapist about it, and she just guided me through that process of like, invite the fear in and ask it, like, what does it want? Because it's going to keep showing up if you keep putting it away. And so I just kind of sat with it, and it was like a very like childlike little Collette that was just truly afraid of death in this moment. And it's also a rebirth in a sense, like, you know, so I got through it. Does that fear still exist. I think it does a bit because I now have a child at home. And so I really need to be there for her. And there's some concern there. Everything okay?
Yes, I just get spam calls. I shouldn't be getting spam calls. Sorry. I just ruined your thought.
It's okay. And so, yeah, there's that. But I'm so just like the little fear of death. But I do feel more capable going into it. And I do feel ready to get an epidural at an earlier time in the labor process. And I do feel better advocating for myself. In the first birth, I had a doula, which I'm really glad I had, but I feel I've got this like mom power that I can say like, no, I want to do it this way unless there's, a medically indicated reason why I have to do it different. Yeah, that's how.
I mean, I could say that the fear of death was there. It wasn't like a huge keeping me up at night, but like it crossed my mind. It's definitely there, and you're like, could happen. And then you just try to educate yourself on like, what are the things you need to be aware of? Like, when does it happen? And I mean, I believe like the most common, I could be wrong, is basically bleeding out after birth.
Yeah, postpartum hemorrhage.
Postpartum hemorrhage, which the doctors are very in tune with that. Mm-hmm. All doctors are very, like, they watch you closely. And
yeah, so I mean, one of my best friends had to have a blood transfusion on the table. That's
right, yeah. So it's just knowing like the things to not take lightly. Yes. So that is one thing where if like afterwards your wife or you're bleeding, you think, oh, this is a little bit extra, call the doc right away. Call the nurse, call them in, don't wait. Those are little things that.
I mean, there were a few times I remember, I don't know the emotion I was feeling, I guess embarrassment or like, and such vulnerability of calling you into the bathroom after and being like, Scott, like,
is this normal?
Is this normal?
Oh yeah. You'll get to know each other very intimately.
Yeah. And it's, looking back, it's so beautiful to allow that bonding.
I think we should also talk about how like, we both are going into the time afterwards, like after we have the baby, and just being like, we are just chilling.
Yes.
Like I don't remember. I mean, we definitely took time, but I don't ever remember like, I'm just going to relax and chill. I don't think
I looked at it as, I don't think I even look at it now as relaxing and chilling, but maybe because newborn life is so different than toddler life, and toddler life is go, go, go. We have to have activities. We're moving, we're running, we're jumping, and newborn is like very sitting still.
Yeah.
And fortunately our daughter will be at school, so we'll have a little bit of that stillness, but I think it'll be a lot of like dividing and conquering.
Yeah, I think also knowing like what to do. You just know, like I can remember right after we had her and like they left the room and we looked at each other and it was just like, what do we do? Like, yeah. what do we do now? And you don't do anything. Like if they're sleeping, let them sleep. If they're eating or they need to eat, you feed them. But besides that, just relax. But you're so heightened. Like,
yes. I don't know who I was talking to recently. I think it was my sister. And she said, on the first one, you don't like sleep as much because you're just watching them breathe and you're just staring at them the whole time. And that is so true. And then the second one, you're like, okay, I'm going to rest when I can. Like, I don't need to stare at them constantly. But I'm like, I don't know. I have a feeling I'm going to be staring at him constantly.
Yeah, we stared at her constantly. Watch the video, like watch the camera, would look at pictures from the day before nonstop. And this time I feel like we'll do it a little bit, but not as much.
Maybe we just won't have as much energy to do it.
Yeah. Knowing that you have a toddler like waiting for you.
That's the main thing. My concerns are not as much about him being okay as a newborn as they are about her as the toddler and us being able to be there for her.
So let's talk about preparing Scotland for meeting her sibling. So how are you preparing for her to meet little Cashew, as we're calling him?
She has nicknamed him Cashew, which I think is adorable. Well, I think the greatest preparation we've been able to utilize is these Love Every books that have that navigate siblings for bringing home a new baby. And these Love Every books, it's a subscription-based service, but you can actually buy these books separately. I think we have a code actually. I know we have an affiliate link we'll put in for these books. They're amazing. But these books just show, it's a photo book with words in it. And it shows the parents like, baby's coming when the mom is pregnant, baby's here when the parents are bringing the baby home and the grandparents are staying at the house with the toddler, when the baby starts crawling, all of these different milestones in the toddler's life and the baby's life, and how to emotionally prepare them meeting that toddler where they are in their own emotional development. Because I think she's actually grasping quite a bit of what is transpiring.
She is, yeah. I mean, the books basically say like, they start with like one is like mom's pregnant or baby's coming. Yeah. One is baby is here. And then one is like becoming a sibling or something. I can't remember. There's 3 different books, but one's labor. Like, so one talks about what labor is, and it's amazing to watch her understand, because you would think like, one, the books are very simple because it's, it's not it's like one kind of topic, but it's just real raw pictures of people who are doing things. It doesn't like show graphic pictures of the labor, but it's amazing to see what it shows and how she grasps it. It talks about like when the baby comes home, and it talks about like the example of when labor happens. So, I mean, one of the things that's like really hard is the idea of like, oh, we're leaving her, and you have to. I mean, you have to go have the second baby, and how is she going to grasp that? Because it might be the middle of the night, and we leave, and all of a sudden, Granny's here, taking care of her in the morning, and the book does exactly that. The book's like, this is what happens as you get closer to the baby coming. Dad, and in the book, it shows that dad might be taking care of you more, and dad might be putting you down. And then it talks about how one morning, Granny's there. And it's like, well, the kid asks, where are my parents? No, they're in the labor. They're having your little girl or your little sister. And it's one of those things that, like, I think she gets it as best she can through that. Because, unless you have a situation where like maybe that does happen where your grandparents, just standardly wake up with your kid, or they wake up with someone's. Our daughter, it's not that way. She always wakes up with us. And to have like, it could happen one day where she wakes up and we're not there, she's going to kind of understand that. She's going to grasp it. And it'll be, I think she's through those books, through us talking about it, it has helped us prep her as best we can. No matter what, there's going to be something she may not get. And when it comes to like the labor, but what are we going to do when I see you get tearing? You're getting so sad.
It's going to be really hard to leave her.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And I think about it too. I get really sad. I just block it out.
Said the man. I just put it to the side.
What about when like we have the baby and hopefully she can come to the hospital? Or
I don't think she can.
Oh, okay. Well, let's play this scenario wherever it is. How are we going to have her meet little Cashew?
Yeah. We should probably talk about this. We haven't talked about this.
Well, okay. I mean, there was a post I saw that kind of talked about what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And there's a few things. Basically, it was like, 1, have your hands free.
Yeah, don't be holding the baby.
Don't be holding the baby. So if you're in the hospital, meet the new one or the older sibling outside, and then kind of come in and meet the baby, and try to stay away from using the terms like, this is my baby. It's kind of the ownership of that. So that was one of the things.
Like keep the baby in the bassinet or in this separate area so that your hands can be free for the toddler, and introduce, and don't force them to go over to the baby. Don't force them to hold the baby. It's very much like an introduction, but like your focus is on the toddler. The baby will be fine. The baby is not aware of what's going on. I also got a little gift from Cashew for our daughter that will hopefully, because she loves presents, and it'll just ease things for their introduction. She loves babies, so I think it'll hopefully be smooth, but I know it'll be a challenge no matter what.
I think it's going to be a challenge no matter what. I mean, I think it's, you can do your best of trying to prep things and trying to be so that it's a smoother transition, not just like shocking of, hey, all of a sudden you're not number one. Like, that's going to happen. She's going to learn, like, I have to share, I have to but it doesn't have to happen on day one. You know,
Yeah.
day one can be, hey, look at this amazing person who's joining our family. And I think at some point she will say, hey, when can Cashew go home?
Yeah,
I think she will at some point, but she'll figure it out. She'll understand. I mean, we've shown her Cashew's room, so hopefully she'll kind of get it. And we've talked to her about it. But
it's a transition for everybody. And I think reminding her of that, there's a line in one of the Love Every books that says like, it's a big change for everyone, but we're going through it together. Something of that. I'm paraphrasing it. And it's a good reminder for myself too, because like this is our first time doing this as well. So we'll get through it together.
Yeah. Baby number 2.
Yes.
There are times where it's like, oh man, like his crib is up. And I just think, I'm like, at some point there's going to be a little potato.
They are potatoes in the beginning.
Yeah. Just sitting there like crying. And there is the fear of like, can I really get up in the middle of the night again?
Yeah.
Can I do that?
I have that fear.
And it's like, I think it'll be different because with her, like if she wakes up once in the middle of the night, I'm like, ugh, come on.
So hard.
And it's like, it used to be like, oh, she woke up like 2 or 3 times. But
maybe it's the hormones.
I think it's hormones. I think it's adrenaline. Terrified. The one thing, I think there's something different because it used to be when she'd wake me up, I could not go back to sleep for at least an hour because I would just be awake, like so revved. And now if she wakes me up, I go right back to sleep. So, and I don't know if it's like my little trick that I've been trying to do with trying to get myself to sleep. I just don't feel as awake. I literally feel like groggy. I'm like, just go back to sleep. Okay,
Oh, that's good.
So the new sleep hack that I've tried is basically what you do is you think of a word like rest, and then you start with the first letter R, and you think of all the words that start with R. But I go even a layer deeper, and I try to think of alphabetically all of the words. So I will start with R-A-A. Is there a word that R-A-B? And then like just start, and usually I will only get to like R-A-G. Like I'll never make it past the R-A's, and then I'm asleep. And what it does, it takes basically I don't know the technical terms, it takes your mind out of like emotional thinking and more into like logical thinking. And the logical thinking, your brain can just like shut down the body and go to sleep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. What was the weirdest craving you had?
It's probably recent.
Yeah.
Bell peppers with
that's right.
cottage cheese and Mike's Red Hot sauce on top. So good, by the way. So good.
Yeah, you were like, sweetie, try this. It's so good. And I'm like, it's not bad, but it's definitely a pregnancy craving.
I was also eating it while bouncing on a bouncy ball. And I just feel like it was like, okay, you're definitely pregnant. Like, you're about to pop, girl. How do you think our travels will change with having 2 kids? And will they change? Are you going to approach it differently or?
Be even slower.
Yes.
I think the biggest change has already happened. I think the biggest change of, when we first traveled with her, when she's still a potato, you can basically do what you want. You can go to the restaurants. You can just kind of feed her. Yeah. You could even go to like a beach club and like hang out during the day. And she's just, okay, whatever. Now the change is we have to go somewhere that also fits her needs. Mm-hmm. There needs to be things for her to do. And so I think that shift is just now, that's for a long time, so that biggest shift has already happened. I think the travel will be probably even just a little bit slower, having having the 4 of us, I should say.
Yeah.
But I don't think anything besides that, the initial like lull or slow time will happen just because you have a newborn, but I think we'll probably get out sooner with him.
Yeah.
Inevitably.
Yeah. Well, because we have to with her.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm more apt to find accommodations like a home exchange or an Airbnb or a hotel that supports the family dynamic instead of, when it's the 2 of us plus a baby, it's like a hotel room is feasible. I still like we have like a 1-door policy now where we try to. It's not always financially feasible, but to have a separation between our daughter and us just for some privacy. And that is cost prohibitive when you're traveling at hotels, and it's not always possible because you're just sharing a room. So I think having like the family hotel concept that's prevalent in Europe, of like the Swiss family hotels, and then Germany has some and Austria has some. Like, I was looking for those. We might be going to Europe this summer. I was looking for those as a way to like, why are we struggling with like this vacation? Like, because all of a sudden you don't have support anymore. And so there are these hotels, these family hotels that are across Europe that have things like childcare. They have different systems to support parents so that like you can actually have a vacation. We interviewed ILO Retreats, a woman from a retreat company that has Montessori childcare integrated into these retreats so that parents can feel supported. And I think that's so awesome. And I don't know why it's not really an American thing, I guess.
It is, but it's not. I feel like it's always an add-on, unless Disney has childcare. Some things do.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm apprehensive to utilize childcare because I'm like, is it vetted? Who are these people? I have all these questions, and then that's even like at home when I can have the time to interview these people, and then you're plopped in these places, and you're like, how is my baby safe? I have all these questions. So I think utilizing these like vetted, very highly rated places is wonderful. So I look more towards that, or having a place like a home exchange where I know that, one, it's budget friendly, which is great because another kid is going to cost more. And two, that it's a home that we're exchanging for a family home. There's already kids' toys there. There's a kid's room. There's some more space. So I think I'll look towards that as well.
And I think too, the mindset of travel has changed where it's not about, it's not about like going to Florence and hitting all the best restaurants and going to the museums. It might be going to Florence and, just walking around the town, walking around the city and getting gelato and going to the local park.
Yeah, finding the local playgrounds.
And it's you're not doing as much, but it's fun. It'll be very memorable, and you will be able to see things, just not as many things.
Can you share your quote that you came up with that I just love about?
Basically, I say with travel, with everything, it's like you don't need to see everything, but you should enjoy everything you see. So that's applicable to people with kids and without kids. We hear so often, hey, I'm going to Europe for the first time. I've got 10 days and I have 9 cities planned. What should I do? And our first thought is either, go for 3 weeks or cut the number of places you're going at least in half. And because too often people just try to cram, I should say too often as Americans, we try to cram too much into our travels. We've been guilty of it as well. And that's applicable with kids too. I mean, if you go to a place, even, if you're going to like even Disney, the idea of, I've spent this money and I need to get as much fun as possible will lead you to having a trip that's not fun and it's going to be stressful. But if you say, Disney, Europe, wherever, if you go there and just say, all right, I've spent this money, now let's just have a vacation. Wherever that takes us, that's fine. So if that means, okay, we just go to the park and we only get, 3 hours of good park time with our toddler and then we go home and relax, great. That's all you're going to get. And that's fine. Enjoy it. Don't try to squeeze out 8 hours of park time, have tantrums. You and your wife are exhausted. And then you come home going, I wish we didn't do this. Like, it was a waste of money. Same thing if you're out traveling in Europe or whatever. You don't try to think like, I need to hit all the museums. Just, enjoy the time as you can and have fun. So.
It reminds me of like Clark Griswold in National Lampoon's Vacation when he has his Wally World meltdown. It's like, we've all been there. Like, we've all tried to do everything possible and plan this amazing vacation for the family and for all of us to enjoy it together. And it's like, we're going to have the happiest time. And like, but you're trying to do too much. So it's really like peeling back, slowing down. And a lot of times you have to learn that the hard way. We definitely have. So don't think that we've gotten everything perfectly. And I'm sure it'll be that way again. I think a good tip for any parent or like new parent is to maybe repeat a place that you've been. For example, like if you've been to Florence, Italy with your partner before, maybe you guys went on your honeymoon there or something. Go there with your kids. It's something that's familiar. You won't have that like fire under your butt to say like, you have to go see every single museum. You've probably already seen them. And so you'll be able to enjoy the city on a different level. There won't be as much stress. I love repeating places.
I want to ask you a ChatGPT Tony Robbins question.
Okay.
What's the vision you hold for your family long term, and how does this next chapter fit into that?
Hold for my family. I think this mutual love of exploration and bonding and respect, doing it all together through different seasons of life, always with a lens of adventure as like a guiding force for our family, learning together, whether it's like, we take a month to go on an RV trip and out west, whether we, spend a month down the Jersey Shore. It's this quality time in a place, a dedicated intention to spend and learn together and grow together and be open-minded enough to ask, the questions along the way that will be guiding forces for all of us. Be sounding boards for our children. Be like intentional time together is a big golden thread in my heart. What about you? That was a very deep question.
Yeah, that's why I liked it. I liked it. Yeah, what's the vision you hold for your family long term? I mean, I think all that. So I think it's easy that the two of us always want to achieve. We always want to do. We want to go. And that's fun. I think with, having kids, it's one, taking the time and enjoying it and being present and appreciating it. Like you have the quote that's on your wall that says, your hands, how is it?
It's something along the lines of like, your hands may be full, but thank goodness they aren't empty.
Yes. So there's times where it's like, you're exhausted from a whole toddler day of tantrums and whatever, but it's like, you got to appreciate that you have the time and the energy to do that. I think it's not only being good coaches and examples for our kids, so it's being sounding boards, helping them through it, but also continuing to be a kid ourselves, continuing to explore, be it new skills, be it new locations, new adventures, and showing them that constant growth and learning and failure is life. It's not about checking the boxes and just moving on. It's about all of this. It is the process, not the destination, as we always hear. So yeah, I think it's doing that. I think bringing them along, doing crazy stuff with them,
building resilient
kids, kind kids, hardworking. I think that we are in a world and also a small community where it's inevitable that they're going to be driven and focused. They're going to work hard on the sports, work hard on the grades. But it's like, can you understand the bigger purpose of all of that? It's not about just like, did you get the A? Okay, good, check. It's like, do you have the knowledge? Are you inquisitive? Does this drive you intrinsically? And those are things that, I constantly work on and try to stay dedicated. And it would be good to dedicate with them. It's all the knowledge and stuff that we have now. We live in a world where we have all these experts, all these podcasts, where we're fortunate that we can, I feel like we're so fortunate to have all this information. I mean, you have people like Huberman, who's like distilling all this scientific knowledge, and Dr. Becky, who's giving you all these parenting advice. And it's like, we have all these things to learn from, and how can we help them learn as well and apply it in life to make their lives better, not just to have information for information's sake.
Yeah. And I think, I love everything you said. And it's like such a Scott thing to say, like, be kids ourselves, because you've always had this zest for life, as I said in our wedding vows.
Well, for example, it's like we talk about how it's been on my to-do list forever. It's like to do jujitsu. And it's like, okay, well, when we can go do it together, I think it'd be a great thing to go do, the two of us, and also as a family, to like learn this whole new skill.
Yeah.
Learn this whole new adventure. I mean, we picked up rock climbing, several years ago, and it's like, maybe we'll go back to it. I'd love to, because it's so much fun, but it was a skill that we learned, and it was scary, but we got out and we did it.
And we did it together. You were definitely more the rock climber. I also think you bring up a point of like doing things together. And I think that is a guiding light for me as well. Like our relationship has always been so important to me. And I want it to still be at the most important thing in our family. And I think as we nourish our relationship, that sets the example for the kids too. And I want them to see that we take the time and intention to nourish that relationship. I know that like when we go on dates, our daughter's starting to get like, I want to go on the date. And I'm like, oh, and it breaks my heart because I'm like, oh, baby, like I don't want to leave you home either. But I also want this time with daddy, and it's important to have this time with daddy. So I think continuing to nourish that, and I know that was like a real fear point for me, having a child. And I read all these books with like Dr. Gottman about like, after, what is it, like we become 3 or some like funny title of how to stay connected after baby, because there is that point of roommate phase. But now I think having gone through it, I see that like roommate phase as like we're a team. Like we had to go through this. This is what we had to do to get through this really tough time, and we are so much stronger because of it, and we're going to go through it again, and it'll be different, and we're going to have to divide and conquer, and I'm going to miss you, and then we'll have these points of reconnection, and then eventually I know that like there'll be more time, just like we have a little bit more time right now because our daughter's older. We're about to start over, but we'll get there again.
We'll get there. And in the big grand scheme of things, like it's just a little blip. It really is.
But it's hard to think that sometimes. You're like, is this permanent? Like, because especially the first time around, you're like, this is so different and scary and new, and I miss you.
I miss you too. Yeah, it's fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be exhausting. Yeah. I know. It's so crazy to think about those, like the hormones that, I don't know. I just think about that as right now, as things are getting closer, I'm like, I'm a different person. I'm like, I can't handle things as much.
Emotionally, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, emotionally.
Describe what that is.
Just agitated. Just not agitated, but just on guard more.
I thought you meant like after kids, how like watching a commercial or a certain movie might make you.
Oh my goodness. I can't watch certain movies now. Anything where like, if there's any abuse to a child or harm to a child, nope, can't watch it. Yeah, you just care too much for the kids. You really do. Yeah. And you just, so.
Look at us evolving,
changing, becoming. What's more terrifying, diaper blowouts or toddler tantrums?
Terrifying? I don't think either are really terrifying. Maybe aggravating is a toddler tantrum. Diaper blowout, you just clean it up. But it might be like, this again.
What's the first thing you look forward to doing as a family of 4?
Oh, I think just kind of like cuddling on the couch together. And it's a family of 5 because we have Lucy.
That's true.
Do you think Lucy's going to freak out?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I can remember her meeting Scotland and like just sniffing her and being like, what is this thing? Yeah. Something smells funny.
Yeah. And she smelled me differently. She was like attacking me like, what are these smells, Mom?
Yeah. What's one baby item that you swear by and one that is totally useless?
Listen, I only had one at this point. Let's hope it works, but I love the snoo.
That's true.
I mean, the snoo is it's this bassinet, a smart bassinet that rocks your baby, has white noise. Our daughter slept like a champion. I hate, like I'm nervous to say that out loud. Like our daughter slept well, knock on wood. I hope it works again.
Yeah. I can remember
I did love it.
My buddy, whose last name is Horny, telling me like, hey, he's like, I'm not going to tell you much. When I told him we were pregnant, he goes, but the 2 things is Nanit and the snoo.
The Nanit camera.
The Nanit camera and the snoo are 2 things we love.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, little things like
baby carrier.
The baby carrier, Bjorn, all those things are nice.
Mm-hmm.
They're nice.
And I like the Solly Baby wrap when they're really tiny.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be like a really big thing for baby number 2 because I'm going to have to keep up with baby number 1. And so I'm going to be wearing baby number 2 a lot more.
And the most useless one, I think, that I've seen, I don't know if we had it, is the lotion applicator. Have you seen this?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a spatula.
Cream. It's baby, like a butt spatula. So that you don't have to get your hands dirty.
I was like,
But your hands are kind of getting dirty anyway.
Yeah.
So you're going to wash them if you wiped a poop. So why wouldn't you
just put it in there? Get it in there. That's yeah.
Yeah, put it on there.
Can you believe it? I guess let's put a guess. What day do you think you'll have the baby? What day do you think the baby will be born?
April 16th.
April 16th? I like that. I'll just go the 17th.
Both late.
Is April 17th a holiday? No, March 17th is a holiday. Right? Isn't that St. Patty's Day?
St. Patrick's Day.
Okay. Well, we'll get through it.
To be determined when that will be.
All right. Next time we talk, it might be 5 of us.
Vakun baby.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you're learning from and or enjoying this podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. These are great free ways to support this podcast. Also, please subscribe to this podcast on both Spotify and Apple. On both of those platforms, you can leave us up to a 5-star review, which would help us out greatly. Please also check out the sponsors mentioned in today's episode. That's the best way to support this show. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please put those in the comment sections in YouTube. And yes, we do read all the comments.